Parliament says it will have to continue with its own cost-cutting measures after receiving less funds from National Treasury. The House is now faced with a 74 million rand shortfall. Out of its three major programs, administrative costs take up a bigger share of the budget, with a staggering amount of that, of 776 million rand. So let's make sense of exactly what this means. We're joined now by the Acting Secretary to Parliament, Baby Tyawa, who joins us via our video link. Ms. Tyawa, thanks very much indeed for your time this morning. I want to hone in on exactly that line item there of Parliament's funding. Administration, 776 million rand. What are the specific costs that fall under this program?
Good morning, and thank you indeed for the invitation. The administrative costs include sub-programs. Remember, we have three programs, and under those programs, we have the Office of the Speaker, the Office of the Chairperson, and in that, there's a cost to employment. There's also the annual performance plan cost, that goods and services. There's CAPEX in that area. So you will realize that when we unpack our budget, we align the budget along the sub-programs in that administration area.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
No. If you think about it, it includes 1,308 members of staff. Okay, it includes a whole annual travel of international oversight for the officers. That is the executive authority. The executive authority, like I say, is the chairperson of the NCOP and the Speaker of the National Assembly. They then work as combined as like our ministers. Okay. So in that, we have to run the costs, we have to run the officers, we have to also actually look at the daily running of those officers, as well as include their international travel and allowances of whatever entitlements they have. In that also, we have the House chairpersons. So it's a whole, shall I say, a program that has got sub-programs. We have it delineated, and we have it outlined in our annual performance plan, which you have access to as it is on our website.
Yeah. So let's talk about the issue of annual travel. So those costs would no doubt have been saved under COVID-19, correct?
You're right, in terms of the oversight. And let's not confuse annual travel as in like entitlements of members, but traveling in respect of oversight. Definitely they were saved during COVID because we did hybrid, we did a lot of virtual, you're correct. Hence, we can complement or augment the 74 million deficit with the savings that we have. And part of that budget that we have saved, we've saved about 261 million to date. It could be more when we finish our audit. That amount, we're going to augment it to make up for the deficit of the 74 million rands, like you said, as well as other operational matters like continuing to modernize Parliament.
And let's actually hone in on exactly that issue, continuing to modernize Parliament. Is Parliament taking advantage of digitisation and certainly the money that surely can be saved in terms of taking things online, limiting travel and other forms of digitisation?
I can say to you with confidence, indeed, yes. I mean, COVID catapulted us into ensuring that we embrace digitisation. And in that respect, we're quite happy that our members could use the tools of trade that we had given them, and they were able to connect. What we've done is we invested in our data. We've had to increase data for both members and staff. And of course, we expanded our interconnectivity on the precinct. So we've enhanced our Wi-Fi in the offices, as well as enhanced our bandwidth on the precinct of Parliament. And we continue to work with some of our service providers who are assisting for connectivity on the precinct. We've had challenges with connecting members depending on where they are at in terms of the country because of our inability of bandwidth in this country. But we have invested quite a lot, and we've made sure that members, at least at every point in time, are able to connect. As you can see, that the National Council of Provinces has actually been doing virtual meetings with their provincial representatives across the country. However, we are faced with old buildings, as you can imagine. Some of the buildings on the precinct were were built in about 1810. So we have to also have be sensitive to heritage and make sure that whatever we do, we don't drill through the walls. Of course, we can drill through the walls with Wi-Fi, but there are certain places on the precinct that are really resistant to clear sound and reliable connectivity.
Yeah.
But we continue to work on that in that area by really embracing modern technologies to ensure that our members do deliver on their mandate.
A lot has been said in recent years about Parliament's oversight function insofar as the executive is concerned. But what about oversight in terms of the spending, the money that Parliament gets, and making sure that the money goes where it needs to be?
Thanks for your question. You'll be aware that we now have got at least 17 audits. I, in the period that I've been acting, have reported with my team to the Joint Standing Committee. When we report on that, we report on the annual performance plan and the spend that we get that aligns to our goods and services, which we have to allocate to issues like oversight and lawmaking. Oversight from our side, we account for the travel of staff, because each time a committee goes, for instance, during COVID, the committee had to go to the Bait Bridge. That committee is supported by a number of staff members. Those staff members range from protection service, the researcher, content advisor, executive assistant to the committee, and a whole range of other people. We invest in that. And then, on a quarterly basis, our budget, expenditure, and delivery on our strategic objectives and our annual performance plan is presented to the Joint Standing Committee, which sits in our FMPPLA, which is our act. And our budget has got to be reported against what we say we have done. So there is oversight, and that oversight is exercised by a multi-party committee called the Joint Standing Committee of Parliament Financial Act. And they then trace, and where we have savings, we report back to that committee. And I must say that there's a notion that Parliament has got 2.6 billion. That's what we are allocated. But when we look at what we appropriate, what we spend on the activities, it's just close to 500 million plus, and that goes for goods and services. The bulk of the budget of Parliament, like the Speaker said yesterday, goes to PAMED, which is the medical aid of members. It goes to the political party funding. It also goes to entitlements, that's travel. And we're working with National Treasury technocrats to say, can we remove all these amounts that burden the bulk of the Parliament budget so that we correct the baseline of budget, of the baseline of the Parliament budget. Then we can know, when you ask us, what does it cost South Africa to exercise oversight? I can tell you. But now, I can only tell you that in terms of my staff that traveled, this is how much it cost. In terms of the committee that went to Bait Bridge, that's going to KZN during the floods, this is how much they have done. But we're restructuring our budget such that the budget drivers are oversight and accountability, legal lawmaking, and public participation. And you will see with time that our annual performance plan is going to be refined, and you can actually connect the activities to the budget. When we report on oversight, we're reporting on the mandate of Parliament. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'd like to talk to you about that in the months to come once that is done. But for now, let me thank you for your time. Baby Tyawa is the Acting Secretary to Parliament as we continue to unpack, really just scratching the surface there of Parliament's budget allocations.